Welcome back, everybody. This is Zach again with New Angle Sports Talk. Tonight we're going to be recapping Game 2 of the Portland Trailblazers Denver Nuggets series. Game 2 in Denver. First game was a fun game. Honestly, just in my opinion, I hope this series goes 7 games because this is a fun one to watch. Now tonight was very defensive centric. There wasn't a lot of good, neither team shot very good from the field. But it was kind of one of those grinded out games before the NBA moved to just shooting, 100 threes a night, it felt like. This was the type of basketball that they played in the playoffs, especially where they slowed down the ball. They really relied on rebounding and not turning over the ball. And that's exactly how to describe this game tonight as well, too. It was very entertaining for me because I got to see that again. Some people like more of the offense type games, and that's fine as well, too. But every once in a while, it's good to get kind of a good mix in it, and it really makes tensions rise, especially when shots aren't falling for one particular team or both teams as well. This is a fun game to watch to kind of come back to how basketball used to be played without every team shooting so many threes and making so many threes, and really focusing on good passing, good cutting, getting rebounds, good boxing out, just fundamental basketball instead of just getting bailed out by the three-point line every single time. But as usual, guys, the highlights are going to be on the screen. Go ahead and press the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos just like this. But without further ado, let's just jump right in, guys. First quarter, this was almost identical for both teams. I was watching the game, and the Portland Trailblazers did have a little bit of a lead on the Denver Nuggets at this point. They had a 5-point lead at the end of the first quarter, but I went back to the box score and looked at the team stats, and they were nearly identical in almost every single thing. Portland did have one less turnover, 5 more rebounds, and 2 more steals than the Nuggets did. But besides that, free throw percentage, the 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, assist, all that stuff, blocks, they're basically identical. And I just thought that was really strange, but really cool, really interesting as well, too. Now, Enes Kanter had a fantastic game 1, and he did the same thing as well, especially in the first quarter. He had 9 points and 5 rebounds, so very good stats for the first quarter. He was actually the only person at the end of the first half that was actually in double digits for either team. So very interesting. He's balling out, honestly. He's been the X factor for this team, I believe, this entire playoff series and last round as well, too. So hopefully he can keep that up. Now, one thing that you're going to notice right off the bat with Denver's game plan, in the first game, they really targeted Millsap a lot because he had a lot of good matchups, and they really took advantage of that. This game, they really didn't. He only made 1 shot. He only shot 3 shots, but he made 1 of 3 in the first quarter, and that was what their game plan was last game, was to really target him early. He made 1, and it was just a 3-pointer as well, so they weren't targeting him a lot in the post anyways, and that's where he was living last game. He did end the game with 14 points. That was his only 3 that he made in the game was in the fourth quarter. But he got it going. He ended up with a double-double with 11 rebounds, but only 14 points. And, this is kind of the game where, again, like I said at the beginning, a lot of offense wasn't clicking tonight for either team. So that's when you want to get in the post and kind of feed the ball to Paul Millsap and give him those matchups that he needs. And another player to highlight for the Denver Nuggets is not only did they not target Millsap a lot, but they really didn't target Jokic either. He had 0 points. He only had 1 shot attempt in the first quarter. So, again, something interesting as well. We did review yesterday the Rockets and Warriors game was one of the 2 games that I had reviewed for you guys. And in that game, there's a lot of injuries that came up. This game as well, too, it was weird because this one had a lot of injuries as well, too. Torrey Craig actually busted his nose, and at first they thought it was a broken nose. He went down within the first 30 seconds of the second quarter, and there was a lot of blood right after he hit his nose. So at first, like I said, the commentator thought it was a broken nose. It ended up just being a nasal contusion, they said. So he was able to return the game whenever they plugged up his nose a little bit to keep it from bleeding, and then wear a mask to kind of guard that a little bit to protect his nose. Several times during the game, he would return, by the way, but several times during the game, his nose got bloody again too. Had to clean it up. So it's going to be interesting to see if they need to keep him out a few games or if they're going to keep riding with him as well too. He's a very big part of that offense and defense really as well too. He gives them a lot of energy, especially in the playoff run as well too. He's been amazing and really is a really key piece to this whole team. Now, to highlight on Nikola Jokic just a little bit more, he finally got his first points in the second quarter. It was a very good Euro step as well, too. Very clean. I wanted just to mention that as well too, because it was worth it. It was within the first like few minutes of the quarter. Another big player that was for the Trailblazers was Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood has also been having a really good playoff series and playoffs this year. He ended up shooting from the field 5 of 11, 15 points, 2 of 6 3-pointers, but his 2 3-pointers that he made were really clutch. One of them was in the fourth quarter, and they, like I said, it just was a clutch 3-pointer. He hit some big-time shots, and his shots came in key moments where the Nuggets would try to come back because they were trailing a lot in this game. But Rodney Hood's 3 in this specific time that I wanted to mention really kind of kept the Portland Trailblazers lead kind of where it was at, make sure that they didn't go too much on a run, and kind of kept things level again. Big 3. Now, a problem that both of the teams were having, and it wasn't just the first half either, it was the entire game, was three-point shooting. Like I said, Rodney Hood did hit some big threes. CJ McCollum hit some big threes as well. But as a whole, the teams both did not shoot very good from the three-point land. Starting with the Trailblazers, they shot 9 of 29 from three-point. That's about 31%. And then the Denver Nuggets shot even worse. They shot 6 of 29. That was basically about 21% from three-point land. So, again, not great. You can still win a game, obviously, without shooting the ball great from three-point land. But you have to do a lot of other things correct. And so we're going to just jump into the second half to see how both teams ended up. Now, one other play that I really wanted to highlight was Beasley. For the Nuggets, he had a big dunk with 11:20 left in the third quarter. So, like the first 40 seconds or so in the half, he had a huge dunk, and this was good because Jokic had thrown a really good full court pass. We talked about this in the first game, how Jokic is such a good passer. He threw basically a full court pass to him. And was this kind of a sign to things to come was essentially what I was thinking. Are they going to finally get this offense kick-started? Because that was a big play to kind of kick off your first half. One thing that I noticed from the Trailblazers was that they played Jake Layman on instead of Mo Harkless. Mo Harkless went out in the first half with a right ankle injury. And what happened was Jake Layman, when he came into the first half, he was actually guarded up by Jamal Murray, who also did not have a great shooting game either. I feel like pretty much everybody, maybe besides like Rodney Hood, Malik Beasley, Enes Kanter, like some of those other players, I feel like everybody didn't have a great shooting game at all. And so the Trailblazers put Jake Layman on Jamal Murray to guard him, which I actually thought was pretty interesting. Layman can shoot threes, so they probably put him in. Instead of putting in like Myers Leonard, for example, they put Jake Layman in to kind of bolster that three-point shooting a little bit more maybe, and maybe being a little bit quicker on defense, even though Myers Leonard isn't a terrible three-point shooter as far as being a big man. But that's what Stotts decided to do, and honestly, it wasn't a bad thing. I think that Jamal Murray did get a few buckets, but it wasn't anything like crazy that the Denver Nuggets, they should have taken advantage of it, but they didn't. It didn't turn out to be anything like negative with them at all. Now, catching up on some of the injuries again, like I just highlighted, Mo Harkless had a right ankle injury in the first half. Enes Kanter did go to the bench because he did have some bleeding. I didn't know if it was his nose or his lip or something at first, but it ended up being fine. It wasn't anything serious at all. He had a little blood. They cleaned it up, and he came back a few minutes later. Jokic did get his fourth foul with about 4:16 left. He would get his fifth foul in the fourth quarter with about 6:55 left. So, again, can these teams who are down or who need to keep a lead up, can they take advantage of the situation when a player is in foul trouble? Can they highlight them specifically and keep them in foul trouble to keep them off the court? That's pretty much what the Trailblazers did, because Jokic had to go out at that point, and again, he didn't come back in until the fourth quarter, and he got his fifth foul pretty quickly when he got back on the floor. Now, another player, like I said, Torrey Craig, with the nose injury that he had, he did come back with three minutes left in the third quarter. Like I said, he had a mask on, and he had a stuffed up nose. They put some stuff in his nose to kind of keep the bleeding from happening. He did, as soon as he got on the court, he hit a huge three with about a minute left in the quarter. That brought the game back within 10. It felt like for the most part the Nuggets were down by 10. It seems like after the first quarter, they were down by 10 pretty much the whole game. It felt like they kept on trying to come back, and there was these big shots, like whether it was from Torrey Craig or Malik Beasley. They did hit big shots to try to bring that momentum forward a little bit. All right, now jumping back into the fourth quarter now with this point of the game. Again, Torrey Craig's nose did start bleeding again. Something that I thought was kind of funny, or not really funny, but just really, really interesting actually, is they had to call a timeout because he got fouled pretty hard. and his nose started bleeding again as he was getting cleaned up before he shot his free throws. The crowd was chanting "Tori, Tori." I thought that was kind of cool. Just wanted to mention that as well too, because again, he's a vital part of their whole team, their offense or culture that they have, their game plan, their schemes, whether it's offense or defense. So to see him kind of get paid back a little bit for that, I thought it was cool. I wanted just to kind of highlight that as well too. It was a good moment, I thought. Now, as we're talking about the Nuggets still, one other player I wanted to mention here was Mason Plumlee. He had really good minutes while Jokic was on the bench. Like I said, Jokic didn't come back until the fourth quarter. Specifically, he didn't come back until 8 minutes left in the game. But he got his fifth foul pretty quickly with 6:55 left again. So within like a little over a minute, he already got his fifth foul again. But in that span where Plumlee was taking over the center role for the team at that point, he had some really good putbacks, some really good blocks as well too. He played very well for the role, and he's been doing that all year. He's been playing his role, and he's an anchor on the defense, especially in the second unit when he's coming back into the play in the game, and really helps the team kind of keep their heads on their shoulder essentially when maybe Jokic is having an off night or Jamal Murray has a leg injury or anybody else. If they need somebody to step up, I think you can rely on Plumlee, and he really showed some really good leadership in this game as well too. Going over into, again, Jokic, he got his fifth foul, 6:55 left in the quarter, like I said. He wouldn't end up being fouled out, which is good. Jamal Murray did come back after a leg or ankle injury. I wasn't really sure what it was. He came back at the end of the fourth he was limping a lot. There was a part where like a minute left in the fourth where they put Torrey Craig back in for Jamal Murray just to kind of give him a second to kind of rest his leg for a second because he was limping again. So I didn't actually see the play where he hurt his leg, but I noticed that on the game he went over when he got subbed out at one point in the fourth quarter. He went to one of those bikes, those exercise bikes, and was just working on it a little bit just to keep his muscles going and things like that. Again, there were a lot of injuries. Some of them were bigger than others. I don't know if Jamal Murray's injury or Torrey Craig's injury or I think Enes Kanter was fine. Or Mo Harkless's injury. I don't know if any of them will actually keep them out of playing another game in Game 3, but it's going to be interesting to kind of keep up as well. Now, within like the last minute of the game, that's when it was interesting the entire time, but it got really interesting at that point. Again, the Nuggets just couldn't kind of close the gap on the game at that point, and you're going to see the final place here on the screen as well too. But Jokic had gotten an easy two-pointer, like a post layup essentially. And then right after that, this was all about a minute left in the game, Portland turned over the ball. The ball had fallen off the knee of one of their players, and it was a 5-point game at that point. But again, they couldn't kind of close that gap, and the Trailblazers did a good job as far as hitting their free throws when they got fouled and running out the clock when they could. So that was our Game 2 recap, guys. Portland took this game 97-90. The series is tied up 1-1. And I'm looking forward to Game 3, honestly. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I really want to see this go 7 games. I think it probably will. And in my predictions video that we posted out earlier before the playoffs started, I didn't actually pick the Trailblazers beating the Thunder. I thought the Thunder were going to win. But the Thunder and Nuggets series, I projected that to be 7 games. And even if I did pick Portland, I would have still picked it to be 7 games. And just watching the first 2 games, I still think it's going to go 7. I hope it goes 7. I know if you're a Portland fan, you don't want it to go. You want it to be done in like 5. If you're a Denver Nuggets fan, you want it to be done in 5. But I just want good basketball, and again, I thought it was a great game, a great series. So, as always, guys, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, let me know what you thought about the game as well, too, and subscribe so you can see more videos like this. As always, guys, see you in the next one.